My guess is they go 0-4. Maybe they go 1-3. HASLAM's going to come down on Sunday, October 5th. And he says, I want Shedeur to play against Minnesota. And the staff's going to say, we're in London. It's rough. Just give us one more week. We don't want Shedeur having to go overseas. It's a big ask. And so they stave off the owner for a week. Flacco loses that game. I believe Shedeur starts Sunday, October 12th.
I'll keep saying it. I believe Shadur Sanders should play more games than any other quarterback on this roster this year because he's the only guy that I look at and say, they might have something here.
Shedeur Sanders is about to take over Cleveland, and I don't think most people understand just how big of a deal this is. From everything I've heard and everything coming out of OTAs and behind the scenes whispers, this isn't just your typical mid-round rookie QB, get some camp buzz type of story. This feels different. This feels real. And honestly, this feels like the ownership is about to bulldoze their way through the coaching staff and the front office to make sure that Shedeur Sanders ends up under center as the starter at some point for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season. And it might be happening sooner than anyone expected, because here's the thing. We all know how the Browns operate when it comes to quarterbacks. This is a team that lives for the headlines, even if they don't want to admit it. They drafted Johnny Manziel for the sizzle. They paid Deshaun Watson because they thought it would shock the league. They backed Baker Mayfield even when it wasn't popular, even though I love that guy, and he really made himself a Cleveland legend. And now it's Shedeur Sanders. He's the new headline, the vision, and possibly the new franchise guy. And I've been watching this story develop for weeks, and I think it's time we finally talk about what's really going on here. But first, before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 60,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so let's talk about what actually is happening here. According to multiple sources and Colin Cowherd himself, who I know can be a bit of a clown, the Browns ownership, Jimmy Haslam in particular, wants Shedeur Sanders to start. Like, not down the road, not in week 10, right now. And based on how things are moving, it's looking like we could see that shift as soon as early October. From what's being reported, the coaching staff in the front office didn't want this to happen immediately. Kevin Stefanski even tried to block it by getting the front office to draft Dillon Gabriel 2 rounds earlier than projected, supposedly hoping it would give them an out, that maybe they could pivot from Shedeur and avoid the pressure. But Haslam wasn't having it, and he finally stepped in and made it clear that this team didn't just draft Shedeur Sanders to stash him on the bench. No, he wants this guy out on the field, and now we're all starting to see the writing on the wall. But I do think Stefanski has his vision of Gabriel and Flacco as the top 2 QBs on the roster. That's probably how things will initially go, but don't be shocked if mid-season we randomly see a push for Sanders. The plan, at least for now, seems to be some kind of delay tactic. The Browns start the season with a brutal stretch, and it looks like they're hoping that by keeping Sanders on the bench while Joe Flacco starts a few games, or even Dillon Gabriel, they can avoid throwing him into the wolves right away. But the ownership's pressure will be growing. Sources close to the team suggest the target date is maybe week 6, and honestly, I think it's going to happen. I think that game is already circled in the building, and if Flacco struggles even a little bit, the ownership is going to come down hard and fast, because they really are going by a throw darts on the wall and hope something sticks approach. And I know what some people are thinking, he's a 5th round pick, what's the rush? But let's not act like this was a normal 5th round type of rookie. First off, the Browns never expected him to still be on the board when they were picking in the 5th round. This wasn't some grand plan to grab 2 quarterbacks and let them compete. According to Andrew Berry himself, they had no plans to take 2 QBs in the draft. Dillon Gabriel was the guy they reached on, and they thought they were done. But when Shedeur was still sitting there in the 5th, they had to jump on it, so they did. They knew the upside, they knew the name recognition, and deep down, they probably knew ownership would love it, because whether you like it or not, this pick has Haslam fingerprints all over it. And here's the thing, Shedeur wasn't just surviving out there at minicamps and OTAs, he was thriving. Coaches have described his poise, his precision, and his ability to command the huddle as rare for a rookie. And when you add that to the fact that this kid's got arguably the best pocket presence of any quarterback in the class, you start to understand why this is moving so fast. We're not talking about a project, we're not talking about a clipboard holder, we're talking about a legitimate quarterback who's coming in and forcing the Browns to think differently. And don't forget, this isn't just about football. Like I said, the Browns love headlines, and bringing in Shedeur is going to put Cleveland back in the national spotlight in a way that nobody else on this roster can. Dillon Gabriel isn't going to sell jerseys, Flacco isn't getting you on ESPN, but Shedeur, that's a brand, that's star power, that's somebody who can galvanize a franchise that's been waiting for hope at quarterback since basically 1999, besides that 2-year stretch with Baker. So when Coward says the owners are pushing for this, not just because of performance, but because of the splash, it makes total sense. And the HASLAMs want butts in seats, that's their ultimate goal. It's not winning, it's always been butts in seats, and the Browns are probably going to suck again, but if Shedeur is in, the stadium will be sold out. Here's what Colin Cowherd thinks happened in the draft, with Haslam putting his foot down to get Shedeur.
Jimmy Haslam, many believe, forced Andrew Berry and Stefanski to draft Shedeur Sanders. They drafted Dillon Gabriel probably a round or two early, hoping to get out of the Shedeur sweepstakes. So the question is, at some point, Haslam's going to come down and say, play Shedeur Sanders.
Honestly, you can feel it. Fans are already kind of buzzing. Training camp is going to be a madhouse the second Shedeur starts getting reps with the starters. People want to see him. I think training camp is already sold out. It's sold out in like 5 minutes. I couldn't even get tickets. They're showing up early. They'll be chanting his name. There'll be a real groundswell of support that's building. And it's not just about hype, it's about belief. People believe that this kid is different, that he has that it factor that the Browns have been missing for decades. And yeah, I know there are still people in the building who want to ease him in. I get it. You don't want to throw a rookie into the fire with no protection. But here's the reality. Shedeur is going to play this year, and I'd argue he should play more games than any other quarterback on this roster, because as of right now, he's the only guy in the room who has the upside to truly change the course of this franchise. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I think there's more of a chance that he'll fail than him succeeding, but he's the only one you can realistically build around. And even if the plan is to slow play it, I just don't see how you keep him off the field if he continues to look this sharp in a practice setting. And one thing I want to point out here, Shedeur's attitude through all of this has been elite. Like, he hasn't complained once about reps, he hasn't played into the drama, he just keeps grinding, keeps working, keeps showing up every single day. He had some driving issues, but that's really it so far. So that's leadership, that's maturity, and I think the coaching staff is starting to see it too. You can't teach that kind of approach, and when a guy like that starts rising up the depth chart, you pay attention. Even Peter Schrager said this could be a pivotal year for Shedeur, and when you've got a 5th-round rookie being talked about on national TV as a potential starter, that's not normal. That's not typical. Yes, I know some of it is all for clicks, but that's a signal that something is happening, that the buzz is actually real, and if he gets a fair shot in preseason, I think he's going to win this job outright. Obviously, if he wins, he still won't start week 1, but he will be on standby for when whoever is in hits a rough patch. And let's not forget the numbers game. Keeping 2 veterans plus 2 rookies just doesn't make sense for the long haul. At some point, the Browns are going to trim that room, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if it comes down to Gabriel versus Flacco, and I have no clue what will happen with Pickett for that backup spot, because Shedeur isn't going anywhere. He's going to be on the roster, and if he keeps playing like he is right now, he's not just going to be on the roster, he's going to be leading this team. So what do we take away from all of this? First off, the ownership clearly sees Shedeur Sanders as the future, and honestly, they're probably right.
But if you believe, and many do, that the owner, he's the one that wanted Manziel, he's the one that did Deshaun Watson, he's the one that wanted Baker Mayfield. This is an ownership group that likes headlines at quarterbacks. Shedeur's a headline. Dillon Gabriel's not. I mean, look, we're paying attention to the Cleveland Browns.
Shedeur has got the natural skill, the leadership, and the name to become a franchise quarterback. And secondly, the coaching staff and front office may still be cautious, but that gap is closing fast. Every rep he takes, every throw he makes in camp. And lastly, fans are all in. Everyone wants to see Shedeur. Everyone believes in this guy. And if he hits, this city is going to rally behind him in a way that we haven't seen since the early Baker years. So yeah, the Shedeur Sanders era might be starting a little earlier than expected. Maybe it won't, but I think it will. But if you ask me, I think it's right on time. This team needs a spark. This franchise needs a reason to believe. And Shedeur, he might just be the one that brings it all together. But let me know what you guys think. Should he start at some point this season, or should the Browns really slow play this thing and let him develop? I'm very curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. All your support truly does mean the world. Please be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have not. And until next time, I will see you all later.